Hello, my name is Samuel Nicholsberg, and I will be doing my presentation on the satellite male reproductive behavior. The satellite male mating strategy is a very interesting male mating strategy. What it is essentially is usually a smaller, less dominant male that remains in a territorial male's area to intercept females attracted to the territorial male. This behavior isn't necessarily limited to just territoriality or quality of territory, but to other behaviors or traits such as calls, like a frog call, or displays such as some things that birds do. This is, of course, an alternative mating strategy to the alpha or dominant male mating strategy. The first example I'll show is the ocellated wrasse, which is a fish that lives in reef environments in the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea.
Sneaker males, which tend to be smaller, try to join a nesting male and female with the intention of fertilizing the female's eggs. They don't court females, and nor do they intend to provide parental care. Female ocellated wrasse, on the other hand, prefer nesting males, which build nests, court females, and care for eggs. The ability
All right, and the second example I'll show is the hellbender salamander, which lives in the eastern United States in stream habitats.
The male senses her there and drags her in. This is incredibly exciting because this is rarely seen in the wild or at all. Fast forward just a bit, and while the dead master is underneath, the first sneaker male, true to name, goes on in. His goal is simply to fertilize the eggs and get out before the dead master can do anything about it. Here's our second sneaker.
Okay, and for the third example that I have, this shows how it may be more related to something other than territory quality, in this case, the loudest call, something that I mentioned in the previous slide. This example shows a certain species of tree frog, potentially the orange-thighed tree frog, which inhabits rainforest in Australia.
There's no shortage of suitors, but this female has already made her choice. She's heading towards the loudest call because loud calls come from big frogs, and big is best. But to reach him, she must run the gauntlet of a gang of smaller suitors. Their only chance of mating is to make a sneaky interception. He scored. But with more females arriving all the time, it's not over until the fat frogs.
All right. So the adaptive value is relatively uniform across the board, depending or for each species or different taxa, in the sense that benefits and reasoning for this behavior are all similar no matter which species or environment. The males in this situation, the satellite males, get to mate with females while not having to spend resources in becoming the alpha or most desirable mate. On the other hand, the females either one, don't have to compete with other females for the most desirable mate, or two, the benefit of mating with the most desirable male is so great that the risk of having to mate with the less desirable male is worth it. In the first example of the ocellated wrasse, the case is a bit different. In this example, we see an interesting example of polygynandry, where the nesting male attracts multiple females who deposit eggs, which get fertilized by the nesting male as well as the satellites, both of whom take care of the nest. This is adaptive for the satellite males because they don't have to put too many resources into size and other traits that would predominantly be associated with the dominant male, and they also don't have to put resources into building the nest. They only need to bring females over to the nest so that they get an opportunity to mate. There are some cases where being a satellite wouldn't be adaptive, but instead maladaptive. One example being if there are a lot of predators and size has a large determining factor on survivability. Another example actually can happen in the ocellated wrasse, the cryptic female choice, which is essentially choosing the mate after releasing eggs or something similar to that. But in general, if the females have the ability to pick which male mates with them or which sperm to use, it is cryptic female choice. For the hellbender salamander, this is adaptive because the younger satellite males have a chance to mate while not having to worry about territory. And for the tree frog, the smaller male satellites don't have to worry about trying to be the loudest. They only need to intercept the females on the way to the loudest. So some of the costs of this strategy for the ocellated wrasse include being more vulnerable to predators, potential for less successful offspring, or not being able to mate at all. You have to bring the female to the nest. For the hellbender salamander, some costs would be lower chances at mating and lower quality resources in the territory because you aren't the alpha. And for the tree frog, you have much more competition, and a lot of these can carry over and are not mutually exclusive to specific species, but can be seen in all of them. Some benefits for the ocellated wrasse consist of not having to put in time and energy into developing alpha traits, not having to spend time creating a suitable nest and maintaining it. Some benefits for the hellbender salamander: these satellites don't have to defend territory and can finish developing into adults. And for the tree frogs, it is easy to know where the females will be. There is less predation and you can move around instead of waiting for the females to come to you. Again, these are not mutually exclusive to each species. I believe that most of these cases, especially ones we discussed in the examples I provided before, follow under the hotshot hypothesis, which essentially says that the smaller males, the satellites, aggregate towards higher quality males because they are the ones that attract the females. The females in each example were attracted to either the male and their traits or their ability to hold the territory. The hotspot hypothesis, the sort of opposite towards this, is also applicable as well in some cases, but I do not believe it to be applicable in these cases. Essentially, what that is the female movement towards resources or just movement in general determine where the males will settle down and hold territory. And from there, the weaker or less desirable males are weeded out. And then from there, the satellite males aggregate towards those higher quality males. And these are my references.